when Rabbi Igor and I spoke about this last week, and I closed my eyes and thought about it, when I opened them, I felt like I was in the sanctuary. I felt like I was looking at the beautiful Jerusalem stone walls, and I felt that those Jerusalem stone walls carried me somewhere. And so I invite everyone here, whether you're not in the sanctuary right now, but whether you're on Zoom or on YouTube, to just take a moment and close your eyes and think about where that place is for you. What is that special Jerusalem moment? What does your next year look like? And when I did that, this is what came to me. Next year in Jerusalem. Those words sound so familiar, and I said them just last year. And this year, again, this year, familiar. I can still hear the stillness that surrounds them, threatens to drown them. Last year, this year, next year. But now I'm still here, still here. It's a tough pill to swallow when our shuls and our streets lie fallow, and our children, they still grow, and I want them to know that we can still plan for tomorrow, a year, another year. Is that so? Is that so far? Another lifetime away, and yet we are induced each day to pray, to see a future, a better place, out of this time and space, our space. I seek our space, and chase the dream that your face and your face and my face will join in this place of sanctity and proximity without fear that my air may harm you. So I arm you with a reply to the ancient cry of slaves and plagues and slaves. And from our every Egypt, we know that God and perseverance saves. What seems calamity today can show us another way, a veritable buffet, a laden tray of options, a fresh start, a communal jump start, a chance to create next year anew. So pew by pew by pew, we can fill that space, recreate this place. With arms interlaced, no fear to be together. Remember, there was an army behind us, and before us the sea, destruction encroaching, nowhere to flee. And our plea, our desire to be free, our destiny split the sea. And now it's just you, all of you, and me. As we march into this year, each and every one, our voices lifted in unison, each and every one, reconnecting our hearts, each and every one, so that all who are dear can cohere. And as the tears clear, I see that this vision is my next year in Jerusalem.
Wow. That makes it a bit difficult to go after it. And thank you so much for writing it. And just so that you know, we agreed that both Matt and I would write something in exactly the same amount of time which you would have from the beginning of the service and until the so what is called Dvar Torah slot, until the time when we would speak. So we both had only about half an hour, maybe 40 minutes to write. This year has been the year of counting numbers. Several times we counted days until the beginning of yet another lockdown. We counted and compared numbers of infections and deaths. We counted how many days and months we didn't see our friends and close relatives. I'm sure that now many of us count days until the next stage of easing easing the lockdown restrictions begin. This idea of counting days made all of us to understand and rediscover the Jewish tradition of counting Omer, the 49 days between two Jewish festivals, Pesach and Shavuot. In the time when the temple stood, the counting was initiated by bringing an offering of new grain. The omer means sheaf in Hebrew, and it is an old biblical measure of volume of unthreshed stalks of grain. Shortly after Passover, a sheaf of barley from each farm was waved by a priest in the temple in Jerusalem, signaling the allowance of the consumption of grain from the new harvest. The 49 days between Pesach and Shavuot is also a time between two important harvests, barley and wheat. Both are crucial for people's survival. Since the destruction of the temple, the command has been fulfilled by counting alone, each night for 7 weeks. Number 7 represents the concept of completion, wholeness, and fulfillment in Judaism. 7 is the number of days it took to create the world, and 7 is the number of the complete cycle of a week. From Pesach, we count 7 weeks, 7 times 7 days. This number is not a coincidence. It has a strong sense of completion that links Passover with Shavuot. The link between the two festivals is strong and deliberate. What do we celebrate on Passover? Exodus, redemption, liberty from slavery. What do we celebrate on Shavuot? Matan Torah, the receiving of the Torah, the law, the order. How are these ideas connected to each other? Hebrew has 2 different words for freedom. One is chofesh and another is cherut. Chofesh is the freedom slaves acquire when they no longer have a master. It means that there is no one to tell you what to do. You are master of your own time. This kind of freedom alone, however, cannot be the basis of a free society. If everyone is free to do what they like, the result will be freedom for the strong but not the weak, the rich but not the poor, the powerful but not the powerless. A free society requires restraint and the rule of law. That rule of law, Torah, was acquired on the Mount Sinai 39 days after the exodus from Egypt. The late Sir Isaiah Berlin spoke of 2 kinds of freedom, negative and positive liberty. Negative liberty is an absence of obstacles, barriers, or constraints. Positive liberty is the possibility of acting, or the fact of acting, in such a way as to take control of one's life and realize one's fundamental purposes. The second Hebrew word for freedom is cherut. The positive liberty is the best way to describe this kind of freedom. It is not about doing what you like, but doing what you ought to do. To exercise positive freedom, we need a law, order, and many systems of checks and balances in our society. On Pesach we acquired chofesh, the freedom from oppression and restrictions. On Shavuot we became a nation of law and order, and it is at that moment, Zman Cherutenu, the time of our real and full freedom, began. Every year we go on a journey from Pesach to Shavuot, from liberation to revelation, from Exodus to Sinai, from one type of freedom to another. It is a long journey and hard work to build the nation and the world after a long time of restrictions. It cannot happen in one day, yet every single step towards the positive freedom, every day, is important. This past year, beginning roughly from last Pesach, we learned how to count days of our restrictions. We learned how to count days of not being free. And let us hope that this Pesach started the journey of liberation. This journey will be long and hard. I hope that this year we will have to learn how to be free again. May this year be no longer the year of negative freedom. May this year be the year in which we count hugs and meetings with friends. May the next year we count days we spent together. And as we count, as we think about counting the days of being together, let us announce the 6th days of Omer. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר. We praise you, eternal God, sovereign of the universe, so you sanctify us by your commandments, and enjoin us to count the days of Omer. Today is the 6th day of Omer.